damos paso a la conferencia magistral inaugural de este 12º Congreso de Bibliotecas Universitarias y Especializadas, al cargo de la doctora Ashleigh Faith. Ella es directora de Inteligencia Artificial e Innovación Semántica en EBSCO, Estados Unidos. Ella es doctora en Semántica Avanzada por la Universidad de Pittsburgh y divulgadora del canal de YouTube ISA Data Things. Su conferencia se titula De la alucinación a la estructura, las ontologías como fundamento para una IA confiable. Les informamos que para esta presentación contamos con traducción simultánea. Podrán leerla o escucharla desde sus teléfonos mediante el código QR que aparece en pantalla. También aparecerá subtitulada en las pantallas laterales. Bienvenida, doctora Ashleigh.
Hola. I am so pleased to be here with all of you today. AI can be a little scary, but there is one thing that we as librarians do really well, and that is find the truth, the evidence behind things that people do research on. And AI is nothing but research. It's a lot of guessing, but that's where we can actually play a role. So, my name is Ashleigh Faith. I do work at EBSCO, and I do have a YouTube channel where I teach all about linked data, knowledge graph, and AI from an information professional perspective. So, we're going to talk today about ontologies and how they can add more trust to an AI. And I am going to save some time for questions at the end, so make sure you keep those for the last piece. So to start us out, how can you trust what an AI is saying? Now, it's not saying anything, it is generating a response that looks like it's saying something. Not all of our students and researchers understand that. And that is where us as librarians really play a role in educating and supplying the data to help that AI be more grounded in truth. So this is a trust problem. AI sounds confident. It's so believable. And yet we in the information space have been saying for generations, trust but verify. If a claim is made, you need evidence to support that claim. That's how research works. We know this, our researchers know this, and yet they cite AI as if it's real and it knows what it's doing. Who has had a fake AI citation? Raise your hand. Yes, they take a lot of time away from you doing good work. They take a lot of time for nothing because it's not real. So a large language model is just a statistical model. It is learning from all the words that we as humans put together in a sequence. So when it's generating something, it's just generating the next word in a sequence. It has no idea what citation means. So when researchers and students ask, AI, cite what you just said. Where is the citation for what you claim? It will make something up that looks just like a thing it identifies as a citation. And AI doesn't understand we as humans use citation to verify where did this come from? Is this a trustworthy, authoritative source? And that is where librarians can really shine in the world of AI. We can add more of that trust back into the systems our researchers and students are using every day, and that's these AI systems. So I like to be interactive when I do my presentations. I'm very animated. So if I asked you, and you can shout out if you feel comfortable, who is Anne Hathaway? Actress, yes. Every AI on the planet would agree with you. However, Anne Hathaway is also the name of William Shakespeare's wife. Now, the AI knows that, but what an AI does is it has to do something called pick a winner. So what that means is when there is no context and there's no UID, do we hear linked data words here? It has to pick which Anne Hathaway a researcher is looking for. And so the way it normally picks a winner is what is most popular. Anne Hathaway is the most popular choice. She's modern, people are Googling her right now, so confidently the AI would say, yes, I have research on Anne Hathaway. She was in Batman. The researcher who was doing research about William Shakespeare's plays and influences would not benefit from that response. So, same name, different person. This is something libraries have solved for centuries. We understand authority control. We understand you need to get the precise person to get the right information. This is where we shine. And this is where our linked data and our authorities can really play a role in the age of AI. We just heard from some wonderful speakers about what does the future hold. I can take comfort from our past. We as librarians know authority control is incredibly useful, and it is, and it will be, because precision is not going to change. It is how we retrieve information, whether it is from a normal search engine or from an AI. So what is missing from the AI equation? We need identity. Is this the same person, place, or concept as this one? Example, Anne Hathaway. Authority. Who said this? Is this source credible? And does it have provenance? Is it traceable? If I can only trace a research piece to one article and then nowhere else, that, my friends, is called AI slop, perhaps, where an AI can also start to generate things that look like believable articles. So having traceability is even more important. Knowing you have multiple sources that can back that claim is the way to make sure you're using real research instead of something that was generated with AI. And context, this is important. Anne Hathaway. If I said, I am doing research on Anne Hathaway and how she influenced playwrights. Well, that's context. If I was talking about Anne Hathaway, the actress, I would not be talking about playwrights. I would be talking about movies and Hollywood, things that are words that add context for modern day Anne Hathaway versus historical Anne Hathaway. This is context the AI does not have. This is where not just authorities having unique identifiers, but descriptions, scope notes, see also, use for, these things that are so important to librarianship are incredibly important for getting context into an AI. So these are areas where librarians can add those layers in simply by doing what we do every day, creating trustworthy, authoritative, controlled vocabularies and classifications. So we have our authority controls, we have our subject headings, we have general controlled vocabularies, and we have classifications. These follow rules. AI does not usually have rules. It generates on the probability that this is correct. A rule does not need probability. It is binary. Yes, you followed the rule. No, you did not. When you look at MARC records, when you look at classification codes, when you look at W3C standards for linked data, these are rules. If you give rules for an AI to follow, you have a much higher chance that the AI will follow what you are asking it and expecting it to do. You can also add in, and this is a teaser for my talk on Thursday, some data quality measures on your linked data so that your data is more accurate. Yes, but also if you give bad data to an AI, what happens? It hallucinates. It does things that we don't want it to do. It does not follow the rules. If you work in an area where compliance is important, this is usually things in government or insurance or security, anything like that, or your researchers are studying in those spaces, that's where having provenance is important, not just from a context perspective, but from proving which decisions the AI used, which rules did the AI use to get to the answer. So you can check its work. Without being able to check the AI, it's a black box. And then you don't know if you can trust it or not. So this is where linked data shows up. A fact, a stated assertion about the world. So Anne Hathaway is a string, whereas Anne Hathaway, the wiki code, is a precise, exact person that you can disambiguate versus a different person. Same with Santiago. There are companies with that in the name. There are other locations that go by that name. There are brands, there are YouTubers, other things with the word Santiago. Those should not get retrieved if you are searching for Santiago, Chile. That is a very distinct place. It has longitude and a latitude, and it's precise. That precision of retrieval is what makes AI more accurate. So these identifiers can point to each other, adding context. That's what the linked means in linked data. I can link to this precise thing, and that precise thing is linked to other things that give it context. So I know the difference between Anne Hathaway. That's where the knowledge graph comes in. So if you can see that multiple things in a knowledge graph, so these are subject authorities, these are named authorities, they have unique IDs, they also have relationships to each other, so you can disambiguate. William Shakespeare is in the entertainment industry, if you will. So is Anne Hathaway, the actress. So they have some common things that they share. But a graph helps you understand, just like a social network, who are your immediate relations versus things that are farther out. That is where a fact can be traced and disambiguated and also verified by multiple sources. Those sources can be your linked data, your authority files. If your authority agrees with another source of authority, that adds evidence. The rule of thumb, by the way, is 3. You want at least 3 sources to verify something, especially in the age of AI. And that's to make sure that you have a triage of sources that are backing up that claim. So this is called grounding. The way that grounding works with an AI is you ask a question to your AI. The AI then, instead of just generating something, goes to your authority file or your knowledge graph. It changes the narrative. It's no longer a generative response. It's a lookup to your trusted, authoritative, your controlled vocabularies, your controlled statements and facts of the world that you have verified. This is a lookup rather than a generation. Generation is where hallucinations happen. A lookup file depends on the quality of your data, so you have to work on that. But otherwise, you're getting the answer that you would expect. And that's where the verification happens. Check mark. This is the thing that is from my lookup. I know it's true. I know it is backed by the authoritative sources. So this is how you avoid AI inventing something. That is also where libraries are stepping up. A lot of libraries are creating linked data sources through something called an MCP. Has anyone heard of an MCP? No. So this is something you should look up after. It is a model context protocol. If you don't know what that is, it is going to become a part of your life probably very soon. It is a way for AI to use your linked data to do exactly what we're talking about. Think about it like an API, but meant for the AI. It's highly secure, and you can get provenance. You can track where the source came from. So this is going to start showing up a lot in linked data sources coming soon. So don't trust me. I'm a researcher. I am a librarian data scientist on staff at EBSCO. I, yes, teach this on YouTube, but I also do it in real life. So I put this into practice. I created a very small knowledge graph based on mesh headings, if you're familiar with the medical subject headings. And we did an experiment with generating a response with the linked data and without the linked data. And so you can see here, 59% fewer hallucinations with one linked data source on one subject heading. That's all we used for this. And we saw a 59% decrease in hallucinations. That's amazing. By one subject heading being added. 21% higher confidence in the AI. What that means is, based on that small amount of linked data, it was 3 triples, if you're familiar with linked data terms, so 3 facts, helped us verify what the AI was claiming. That means we have a higher trust. We can verify what the AI did was accurate. So we now have 21% higher confidence in what the AI's response was. And because we're using unique identifiers, we now know the exact, precise authority was retrieved, not just a string match. So entity mismatches decreased 100% because we're not generating anything. We're looking it up from an authoritative source. And this is the example we used. So the query we gave the AI was, is vitamin C safe for cancer patients on chemotherapy? And you can see without the linked data, the risk is 52%. I mean, that's not terrible, but who would take advice from a doctor if they were 52% confident about their response? Raise your hand. No one. No one would trust a doctor that told you they were 52% confident in what they were saying. And you can see the response from the AI. Vitamin C can enhance the effectiveness of chemotherapy. There are thousands upon thousands of research articles that make that claim. It's not inaccurate. It's just not precise enough for the query that we gave. This is where it's different. If you're using AI to find what kind of oil to put in your vehicle, fine, maybe it helps. But when you're doing research where precision matters, the AI sometimes gets it wrong. And that's why we have to provide that data so the AI gets more precise and more accurate. So this first example, it's vague. The longer response, because we all know, AI gives you a whole page of responses at this point. The response, the full response, said vitamin C may help cancer patients. It perhaps could be used. These are words AI uses when it's not confident, instead of telling you, I don't know. Or there's conflicting evidence, which is the case for this. Vitamin C is proven to help with cancer patients with chemotherapy, except if you're on this specific cancer drug. This specific cancer drug actually has a negative interaction with vitamin C. If you used your AI without that authoritative information, again, that's just mesh subject headings and context, you would get maybe something that is citable, something that has a lot of evidence behind it, but isn't precise enough to the question that we originally posed. So you can see here, now that we can verify the information on real authoritative data, the risk reduces to 19%. It's still not a great risk percentage, but keep in mind, this is on one authority. One authority heading, that's it. If we added more, we could verify more. So this is where we belong. We know how research works. We know how important authorities is. When we go and start to work with our colleagues, or we're trying to understand how the library fits into this new AI world, this is where we belong. Helping add trust into the responses, making sure that if you can't supply your linked data or your authorities into an AI, you're there to teach how do you verify what the AI's response is. And that's where AI and librarians meet in today's world. So this is where my call to action is for all of us. I am a librarian as well. I do these types of presentations to help empower you to have similar presentations and similar conversations. If you're not into technology and you absolutely hate AI, I hear you. I totally get it. But there's still areas where you can help, and it's so drastically needed. So disambiguate. We have authority files that disambiguate between two different things. You verify that authority. Whether you work at a library or you're using your national authority or you're looking at other linked data sources, you know how to verify something is authoritative. Not all researchers know how to do that, especially students. If it sounds believable, they're just going to use it. This is where we can really help. That's where we serve the public. Understanding the research ethics. Those have existed well before AI. Make sure you verify what you're using. Make sure you find at least 3 other sources to back up the claim. Make sure that you are getting approval from your students if you're doing research with them. You need to make sure you are following copyright law. These are ethical things. Protect the data of the people you have in your AI ecosystem. These are areas, even if you don't like technology and you don't like AI, these are areas where librarians are already doing a lot. I mentioned I do a lot of these presentations. I hear a lot of librarians are working with their research ethics boards at their universities, or they're working hand in hand with their researchers to come up with verification methods for what the AI is responding. They are teaching AI and information literacy courses to help spread the word. AI, well, it can be a cool and useful thing. It is translating right now. That's useful. You have to verify what it's doing if you're using it in research. A real story. I once worked at a publisher that worked with researchers in the engineering space. This is well before AI, and the research, when it was published, instead of printing a formula, it transposed the numbers. What that meant was anybody that used that research article, which a very, very prominent auto manufacturer did, their engines would catch on fire. That's not good. That is dangerous. That was before AI, and yet the ethics that we use as librarians, check, verify, is this within the correct parameters of your engine thresholds? These are things that have been in existence, ethical research practices, for a very long time. They are even more important than they ever have been before. So, going into this presentation, I wanted to make sure that we talked about how linked data can be used in AI. But I also know not everyone here is probably in the cataloging and linked data field. If you are, please raise your hand. Oh, my heart. I'm so sad. I am a cataloger at heart, so also I'm not surprised. I do a lot of these presentations, and yet I don't see a lot of people from the cataloging space. And that is a conflict that is going on in the world of AI right now. I just came back from doing a presentation to a very large consortium of very large academic libraries across the globe. And there were two themes that came up over and over again that I think it's important for us as librarians to acknowledge and to think through. And that is, there are less librarians, there are less library schools, and there are less librarians that go into cataloging. Cataloging is normally where linked data shows up. If that starts to disappear, what does that mean for everything I just showed you? I'll pause there for a moment of thoughtful reflection. It's not a great look. It's not. And that has no fault of ours. But what it does mean is it's even more important for us to advocate for this linked data authority, getting it into systems, getting it into the hands of researchers. For a very long time, the library was off on the side. I went there as a researcher, as a student. I got the information I was looking for, and then I ran off and probably looked at like Google Scholar for something. And that happens. But the critical piece there is they left an ecosystem of support. Librarians are an ecosystem of support. We are there to help. We are there to help find things. We are helping guide research. We are helping researchers find new and innovative areas to get funding for their research. I once worked at that same publisher, and I went to one of their conferences for their researchers, lots of engineers. And I remember my boss at the time, I was right out of library school, so I was very new. My boss introduced me to one of the head engineers of a very prominent aerospace company. And they introduced me as the librarian, the metadata librarian. And this engineer looked at me and said, "Oh, your poor mother." Excuse me? I'm the one that helps you find everything. Who here can relate to some of that? Okay, I see some hands. This is probably part of the problem. I don't necessarily think that the folks that we help the most maybe know how much we help. So the other thing I wanted to leave you with is, if you find yourself, first of all, if you find yourself lost and alone, go find a friend. You are here with colleagues. You are here to support each other. If you don't know anything that I was talking about, like what's linked data, I don't know what a knowledge graph is, that is okay. I speak gibberish even to people in English. Most of the time. Nobody knows what linked data is when I talk to them. But find a friend. You can find people here that know maybe more about these things, or can share stories about how you're trying to do more at your university or your library. The other thing is, when we get into verified knowledge for the public good, that's the theme of this conference. What does it mean to have verified knowledge? And how can we broadcast it? How can we get it out there more to enable the public good? The field of librarianship is changing. And if anyone here is connected to their library schools, please encourage them. They need to start teaching linked data. They need to reinstate cataloging. I used to teach cataloging and classification at the University of Pittsburgh as a professor. And the classes got smaller and smaller and smaller, and then they disappeared. Now it's a metadata class, which I obviously like metadata. But linked data is a week that they spend on. A week. I know many in this audience who do things with linked data, or even cataloging for that matter. It takes years and years to really understand what to do. And I don't want that to deter you if you're not into linked data yet. It means that you need to start if you're not doing it yet. And again, that's an encouraging word, because this, honestly, looking at everything that I see in the world of AI, because I am a librarian, but my PhD is in advanced semantics. These two worlds are colliding right now. And there are more reasons that we just went through as to why librarians can really shine. But if there aren't any librarians and there aren't enough people that know about linked data, who's filling this gap? Another pause for thoughtful silence and contemplation. This is my encouragement to all of you. if you can't find a friend here, again, shameless plug, I have a YouTube channel. You can learn some of these things. But there's a lot of other resources. If you want more resources, please find me at some point throughout the Congress. I will share with you, I have a whole slide of free resources, free articles, free YouTube videos, courses even, that talk about this. I also, because I do work at EBSCO, I said, EBSCO, this is a problem. We need to help librarians. And they said, cool, so you're going to do that, right? And I said, well, if there's no one else. So there is a free AI literacy course that I taught. It's on Connect. If you know EBSCO stuff, it's on Connect. It's free. It's totally free. You can share it with students, faculty, anyone you want. I made it so that you can use it. So I taught this in a way that you do not need to know about technology. You don't need to know about AI. You don't even need to know about linked data. It's using the information literacy skills that we all know and updating them slightly for AI. And I do it as if I'm talking to you. So that's the other thing. I do try to make it librarian specific. So I hope that this has given you some confidence that you're already doing things to help with AI, whether you know it or not. I hope I've encouraged you to find a friend, or at least some more resources. And I hope this has helped you understand a little bit more about how what we do can help add more trust into the AI ecosystem. Because without us, somebody else is going to fill that gap. And I don't know about you, but when I see who is filling the gaps today, I don't know if they're that trustworthy. So that's another reason to take some inspiration from this opening statement. So if you're trying to figure out where to begin, audit your authorities. If you find a string match, you have two Anne Hathaways. If you can't read and figure out the difference, neither can the AI, or your students and researchers for that matter. So audit your authorities. What's missing? What doesn't have, oh my goodness, here's, as a cataloger, what is the difference between a definition and a scope note? Good luck. No one knows. I could tell you my educated answer, but they intermix all the time. But you should have one or the other. Because if you don't know how to describe something, you can't describe what it is. So that's gold. Also, just an idea. If your library is maybe short of funds, I know that's no one in here. No. Everyone here has ample funds for their libraries. If you have unique authorities, you could sell those. If you, again, that's your ideas, if you want to think about that. But those are areas where the large library consortium that I was talking to a few weeks ago, they have unique authorities in specific languages. I was talking to some folks from South Africa, for instance. There's a lot of very unique African languages that AI doesn't understand. Now, if they want to get those languages to start showing up more in AI so that their end users can use that, they could potentially sell that as a data set. So these are some areas that librarians are already thinking about. Partner with your technologists. First, AI can help you become more of a technologist. Use it responsibly, but AI can help you code. If you don't know how to code, you don't have to. You can do vibe coding, as they call it. So no longer do you need to go and pester your IT department
¿Cómo se
if you
convirtió
can
EBSCO en el
generate some
proveedor de
things on your
servicios de
own.
información más grande del
But if
mundo?
not, definitely
Empoderamos
partner
a
with
los
them.
investigadores
They're
y a
going
las
to understand
organizaciones,
this problem.
proporcionándoles las
They don't
herramientas de
understand
software
your data,
necesarias para
and that's where
gestionar y
you can help.
optimizar sus recursos. Nos enfocamos en entregar
Link,
contenido
do
que
not
permite un
recreate.
acceso más
If you can link to authoritative sources, use them. If you're creating your own unique authorities, add them as linked data so others can link to them. This is important so that we don't have to recreate things over and over, and also so we can share things. Sharing is caring. And then lastly is teaching the students and the researchers and the faculty and the legislators. We have our work cut out for us. But librarians are doing this. I've seen librarians on standards committees, on, at least in the United States, congressional panels. Librarians are stepping up and saying, this is the right way to do this. This is the ethical way to do this. This is the protected way to do this. Our voices matter. And hopefully you can use this as an encouragement to find your space to use your voice. All right, so the last thing I want to leave you with is trustworthy AI is not going to be built by bigger models. Anthropic or OpenAI or whoever isn't going to mysteriously find a way to make their AI model better. But by inserting linked data and knowledge graphs even to verify information, you can add that trustworthiness in. That's where we're building better knowledge on these structures that are very familiar to us in the library and information space. And so with that, I want to thank you so much for your attention. I hope this has been informative, maybe quasi-entertaining, perhaps. And with that, I want to ask if there are any questions.
No, acá. Bueno, agradecemos a Ashleigh por su presentación y tenemos tiempo para preguntas. Por si quieren... Sí, come on.
I'm still jet lagged. Sorry. Okay.
Ashleigh, thanks for your wonderful talk.
Thank you.
It's incredible because usually the people who don't know very well the artificial intelligence, they think this is a machine alone in other world, in other universe, without human people. But this is a perfect example about how important is the population, how important is the specific population, like librarians, in this huge world who is living with us nowadays.
Yeah.
It's only a reflection because it's a very good example that I can give to my colleagues, to my students, about how important librarians are.
Good.
By the way, in my PhD thesis, the first grateful, the dedicatoria, I don't know the dedicatoria in English is for librarians and libraries. Our work is extremely important. Only this is not a question, it's a reflection that how important is the people.
Absolutely.
The intelligence, the human intelligence in this big machine who help us. Only this.
Absolutely, absolutely. And thank you for that. AI is just a tool, and it's actually pretty dumb. Have to make it smarter.
Ashleigh, thank you for your presentation. Before AI exists or appeared in the last 4 years, it seems to me that the catalogers were like, I don't mean to say disappearing, but They were not like a huge number in the libraries. But in the last 2 years, I truly believe that the interest for cataloging and catalogers is increasing. Do you believe that this approach is going to be like the new sexy in the library science field in the next few years?
Yes, if we can get the library schools to listen to us. I can't remember which Nordic country. They have 0 library schools in the entire country. Their national library has to hire librarians from outside of their country because they don't have a whole country without librarians. That sounds like a nightmare to me. But I think you're right. Having managed catalogers for most of my career, and many of you might be managing catalogers too, what I would highly suggest is giving them some speaking skills. Most catalogers, and again, I love catalogers. I am a cataloger. But most catalogers, I just want to do my thing, doing my thing. They are so critical and they are so important. I think that's why they started to disappear though. Because even I taught cataloging and classification. Students hated it. They're like, why do I have to learn this? I don't want to learn this. But adding in AI is going to, I love that you said sexy because it absolutely is making librarians sexy again. Absolutely. I think that the main problem is the education. Honestly, it's not there, and a lot of schools are shutting down. And so I think that's going to be the biggest problem. But we can advocate for current librarians to learn it. So I love that question. Thank you. Anyone else?
Thank you, Ashleigh, for your talk. In your reflection moments, when you pause, and I was thinking in the big companies that are creating these big machines, they are the ones who are going to fill the gap if we don't, and they will fill it perhaps with other interests than the public good or the trustworthiness. So in which ways are these companies, the big techs, are engaging in this discussion? Have you seen some conversation? What is your vision on how this is developing in that more private world?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of open AI models, first of all, because then you can do a lot more with them. You can understand what's in the black box. But what I will say is, as someone who works also in AI, because I am first and foremost a librarian, but I do work in AI, the models, I wasn't joking when I said they're dumb. The models are they seem more sophisticated because they have so much additional behavior data that people across the globe are giving to it. That said, most of the models on the market right now have eaten the internet, and they have nothing else to go to. So my prediction is what I mentioned in my presentation, where a lot of these AI companies, I think, are going to start to talk to areas where there's data marketplaces or linked open data graphs that are out there. Those are untapped resources that add additional levels of specificity that these models lack. And I think that is where things are going to go. So that's another reason it's imperative for librarians to start thinking about how their AI or how their data could be used with AI, because I think that is where the next round of AI is going to go, is the untapped resources. I say it all the time. Who here has archives and special collections? Or, okay. Those are highly unique, very curated. The AI doesn't, and also not digitized, so the AI has no idea. I feel like that's where it's going to go next.
Pueden hacer preguntas en español, no hay problema, si es que otra persona se anima. Ahí. Octavio. Octavio allá.
Hi, thanks a lot for your talk. It was very interesting. I kind of hate AI, and I work in a scientific institution, and we're having a lot of trouble with that because some students even are replying Teams questions with AI. So I also see it as a tool, but at the same time, I'm worried about young people using it as a source for everything.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid of that, and you see the news like this is the end of the world, we're all going to die and be replaced by AI robots. Do you think, I mean, you kind of mentioned that, but I was hopeful that this can be used as a tool, like for programming or maybe doing tasks that we don't have enough stuff to do and we can do it quickly. Do you think this is really going to happen, or we are in a position where we don't know?
There is a great meme I saw the other day. I will share it with anyone that wants to come find me after. There are two sides of AI. There's no in between. It's going to save everyone or it's going to harm everyone. It's like any other thing on the planet that could be used for good or for bad. And so that's why I think it is important for us as librarians to help educate on the appropriate uses of AI. Now, we can't stop students from going off and doing whatever they do. If you want to talk, and I have this in my AI literacy course too that I mentioned, but I will give you the secret. Do you know how to make sure that your students never use AI? Everyone's like, yes. They have to handwrite everything. You can't use AI if they are writing their assignments. Now, you might also be thinking, good gracious, they don't know how to write anymore. Because that's true. A lot of students don't know how to write as well as they used to. But what I will say, if you, or you want to pass this on to your faculty, have even the first assignment as a written assignment where they actually have to write out, and then you do online or something where they can't use AI, hopefully you have it shut down, for tests and that sort of thing, you can assess the language between what they wrote originally and what their next responses are. You can tell if it's the same level of understanding and writing style and all of that. So that's number one. The other thing is this isn't new. So let me give you an example, and I don't want to go over time. When I was graduating with my first degree, I was standing in line. I was going to walk and get my degree, and I had my robes, and I had lots of awards that I had worked really hard for in my studies. And I was standing next to a person who had none of those things. And he looked at me, and this was, I'm going to date myself, like early 2000s. And he looked at me and he said, you seem to have worked really hard for all of those awards, and I didn't do any of that, and I'm still graduating with the same degree you are. And I'm like, oh, that's gross. And I think a lot of students are kind of thinking along those lines. I can just use the easy button. But I think it's important for us and faculty to go back to why are you getting this education? You need to go out into the world and do something with it. You actually need to learn some of these things. And that might mean, you know, the faculty might have to change their teaching style. Maybe they need to teach more towards what kind of role these students will have. But the fact of the matter is, I think we've lost that. And I think that's why a lot of students are pressing the easy button. They just want the degree, they want the signal, but they don't necessarily understand they need the education that goes along with it. And some students get that, but it's, again, on us as librarians to help them understand that. So I fully acknowledge and share your concerns about where AI could go. But I think, one, rest assured, the models, they're pretty much at capacity. They're going to get slightly better, and you can see that in lots of research and diagrams where there were these huge, you know, increases in sophistication with AI models, and now they're like teeny tiny, because AI, if you don't know, generative AI is using a technology called a transformer model. That is just one kind of AI. That kind of AI is getting tapped out because it's eaten the internet. There's not a lot of new things coming in. So at least rest assured that it's kind of where it's going to be. You know, it's going to get a little better, but it's kind of where it needs to be at this point. But then it's up to us to help students understand what's appropriate and what's not from an AI use perspective. Because plagiarism, it's not new. Shirking duties at university and going and partying instead is not new. It's just increased because AI makes it easier. And so that's where we do have to, I know, it sounds like a throwaway response, but it's about education, it's trying to help them understand, and also putting into practice, go old school, get a flip phone, write things on paper. This is how you make sure AI can't be used in some of these applications. Sorry, that was a long-winded answer.
Bien, agradecemos nuevamente. Agradecemos nuevamente a la doctora Ashleigh Faith por su estimulante ponencia sobre ontologías para una IA confiable.